Are you in a relationship or a situationship and you are specifically with a dismissive avoidant attachment style, but you're concerned if they are maybe interested in somebody else or their attention is elsewhere, and you're not really sure if they're going to want to commit to you or if they're going to proceed in the relationship in the way that you need? Well, if this sounds like you, in this video, we are going to cover 5 ways to recognize if a dismissive avoidant attachment style might be interested in somebody else, and also really how to approach this topic should you be experiencing this on the receiving end. So first and foremost, one of the most obvious signs that you'll see is that the dismissive avoidant will tend to just withdraw dramatically. Now, I want to be super clear about this. Dismissive avoidants can withdraw dramatically for multiple reasons. Sometimes it's when they're burnt out, they're stressed, they're in their feelings minus their fears. But when you're looking at this ingredient along with the 4 other ones we're about to go through, and you see them really come together, that's when you want to start to be really wary. And again, like this is a call for conversation if you see some of these things. So, number one, there can be a dramatic withdrawal, but one of the main sort of characteristics of this withdrawing is that it will actually be all of a sudden. It will be seemingly out of the blue. Number two, you may see that your dismissive avoidant loved one, your partner, the person you're dating, they may come to you for the needs of comfort and safety, but they may very much disconnect emotionally, physically, or both. So it'll be like even when you're in the company of that person, there's, the sort of status quo of spending time together and it being sort of comfortable, but you may see that there is actually this absence of like deep emotional connection or physical connection, like they may be less affectionate. Even like intimate sexual connection may be off the table or not so much there in the same way. And there may just be this sense of the relationship becoming like a shell of itself. And again, this can also happen if the dismissive avoidant is just afraid, they're in their feelings minus their fears. But you'll generally see that if they're still interested in you and in the relationship, there will definitely be like a dynamic where there's emotional and physical connection that exists. Like that will be there. It may not be there, in heaps and bounds, like, or heaps and loads, or whatever the expression is, but it may not be there a tremendous amount, but it will be there. Versus if a DA is really interested in somebody else, it'll be like that sort of disappears all of a sudden. And there might be this sort of comfort and surface level connection that's there, but it'll be all of a sudden that the emotional, physical, sexual components are kind of off the table. And there's a very sudden withdrawing that takes place. Number three, you may find that the DA is even less present than usual. They may not really respond to text messages at all, or they may stop responding for hours and hours and hours at a time. And like you'll see, for example, if somebody's dating a DA and there's just a difficult time that this person's going through with the DA, like the relationship is on the rocks or something like that, there will be a withdrawing, but the DA will still show up to spend time with you. The DA will still text back, even if it's like, a little later or a little longer than usual. If you ask for something in the relationship with a DA, like, hey, I need you to show up more, be more present, the DA will clearly make an effort, even if they kind of go have their moments of ups and downs. But I'm talking like if they're interested in somebody else, you really don't hear from them nearly as much. They may not respond to multiple text messages. They're really in and out. That physical, emotional component off the table, withdrawing dramatically. And a lot of these things, again, tend to happen all of a sudden. It's not like when the DA is in their feelings minus their fears. And this is a really important distinction, where when the DA is in their feelings minus their fears, the withdrawing starts to happen and it kind of fades in. So it's happened slowly and gradually over time. And that's like the fears building and building and building in the background, those neglect core wounds coming up from childhood. If the relationship's been on the rocks, you're not arguing carefully or harmoniously with each other. The DA will withdraw for like self-preservation, self-protection, but there's really a fading in when that happens versus if the DA is just like off the map, and they're moving in a different direction, or they may just be fully interested in somebody else. It's very sudden. This is the type of pattern I've seen many, many times because, as um, I've worked with a ton of TAs in my practice over the years. So I've seen a lot of this. And again, there's that sudden shift that takes place. By the way, before I tell you the last two here, if you want to do a much deeper dive into like how to repair a relationship, like get things off the rocks and get things back on track, I have a whole course you can check out for free for 7 days, literally designed for this. And it just goes much, much deeper than I ever can in a YouTube video because I have like 10 minutes on a YouTube video versus an hour and a half or 2 hours for a course. And it really gets to the roots of how to determine if you should keep investing in a relationship. And also, it really gets to the roots of if you're in some sort of dynamic, like, is it going to work or not? And if it does, exactly what you should do. And if you want to check this out, you can check it out for free for 14 days for Mental Health Month. We're doing this just for this month. 14-day free trial down below. And it actually gives you access to checking out the entire school for 14 days for free. So you can go in, you can take different courses, you can check out the different workbooks, download stuff, like really go in there and check it out for yourself. So again, I'll put that link down below so that you can check it out for 14 days for free. And I hope you enjoy that as well. So number four, a huge component in terms of like how to recognize if a dismissive avoidant is interested in somebody else is that they may actually be like on the phone a lot more while in your presence. They may be distracted. Their attention is somewhere else. They may be like, trying to interact with that person, or even just like look at the person's social media or be texting more often or things like that. And, this is particularly if you're in like a situationship, like you're dating somebody, but it's not committed. You may see that they're like really absent. You may even see that they speak a little bit about that person or say nice things about somebody else that you don't know or haven't met. And again, these should all be little red flags going off, right? These should all be things where you're like, hey, what's going on? And you should be approaching it. And if there's not a healthy explanation and some sort of like action steps for change, it's a call to think about reconsidering being in that relationship because as much as, you know, I definitely have a soft spot for all insecure attachment styles and the different challenges each person goes through. If you are on the receiving end of any of these things, it's just really difficult and it's not healthy to stick around unless you see some kind of like shift, resolution, change. You hash it out, you get to the bottom of things and the needle moves and the relationship transforms. Because if you stay in situations like this where you're unfulfilled, there's a lot of gray area, confusion, a lack of communication, and your needs aren't getting met, then it's just unhealthy, right? It's just not a good dynamic to be in. And last but not least, you'll see number five, and this is more of like the private world of a dismissive avoidant than anything else, but you may see that they will create a strong fantasy bond. In other words, dismissive avoidants very much project and tend to really connect with people in like a fantasy bond kind of way, which is funny because you would think that would be like a more AP and FA thing. But DAs tend to do it with like specifically more emotionally unavailable people, like people who are very, very far away, people who they know won't settle down, or somebody who may even be in a different type of relationship already. Like they can really sort of create this fantasy bond, and they may actually create these little subtle moments of comparison where they compare you to that person and you're like, why are they comparing me to this person that I don't even know? And again, these are all really important red flags to be aware of and things to address head on. And if you're not seeing a healthy conversation, explanation, good reasoning behind it, a boundary, a shift, a change in that pattern happening, and something that actually brings you closer together because you hash it out and you see the shift and change, then you may want to reconsider if this is the right relationship for you because these are definitely some red flags to pay attention to. So I hope this was helpful. I hope this makes sense. Again, you can check all of those courses out down below for free for 14 days for the month of May, Mental Health Month. We give the access out to our entire platform for 14 days for free. So you can check it out, scope it out, take courses you want to take. And then hopefully you'll just absolutely love it in there and you'll come and join me in the webinars four times a week. We have literally like Q&A webinars as well. We have stuff every day that you can get your personal questions answered. So come in there and join. And that's it for today. Thank you so, so much for watching and for being here. Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you in future videos.